Welcome to The Difference Engine, the show for tech founders, investors, and innovators.
Okay, so what's coming up on today's episode?
Well, we're going to be delivering more than a token presence as we analyse the rising budget-busting cost of AI and what it means in practice.
But first, we turn our attention to a headline-grabbing book that you might be reading on a Sunlounger soon, proving you do not need to be a referee to blow a whistle. Okay, it's that time. It's that time to figure out what the book that everyone is talking about. I refer, of course, to Careless People by Sarah Wynne Williams. Hope I pronounced that correctly. This is the book that everybody in tech is talking about for various reasons. And I guess, part of the conundrum of the book is this book from a Meta whistleblower, hubris, or sour grapes?
Ooh, and wasn't there a connection to a late and probably unlamented Deputy Prime Minister?
You don't know this, but on Thursday of this week, I was in a private members club that you and I know and love or tolerate. And there was a said Prime Minister, Mr. Nick Clegg, advising some other political party, literally a different political party to his, on what was going on in UK politics. But no photographs are allowed, so I can never prove that. There you go. Sarah's job, which was brilliantly the way she tells it, was something that she created herself. So she basically talked Facebook as it was, Meta as we know it, into creating what became quite a big corporate affairs department and critically important to their success or failure, and still more so than ever, I would say, because big tech at the moment, although it's created a stranglehold on social media, lots of governments are just beginning to warm up, limber up for a big fight. And you see Australia with the children's ban, something alleged here happening in the UK, and Canada to follow. So
it's also not escaped her attention that the CEOs of big tech now appear to be visibly wielding more power than politicians.
She was part of that, actually, and I don't know how she feels about it. We'd have to get her on. But the Hay Festival, Jono, have you ever been to the Hay Festival?
No, and that's way too posh for me.
This is the rural countryside get-together.
It's where West London decamps, doesn't it? It's where literary West London decamps.
West London on Sea. This is where genteel literary types exchange book reviews, where writers head out on the train to shill their books and read them out to appreciative audiences. Now, this year, a lady by the name of Sarah Wynne Williams sat silently on stage, watched by eagle-eyed lawyers, and unable to participate in the launch of her very own Bookie Wookie.
Maybe people thought it was some sort of weird art installation that was happening at the time.
That's very Hay Festival.
Very Hay Festival.
But it was a lot more serious than that. And subsequently, her lawyer, who was on a radio program, was unable to refer to any of the substance of the book or the nature of her allegations or the existence or substance of any restraining orders in one of the most free speech light radio interviews I've ever listened to.
Could they confirm or deny that the book actually existed?
We're going to have to use allegedly a lot here. And in fact, the reason that we're covering this now is there's a new twist. There's a court case that we've noticed has popped up in the States. And this, in this court case, allegedly, Meta alleges that her very silence on that stage resulted in more sales of the book. And I don't think she's allowed to promote it. Despite all of that, it has hit the bestsellers list after her mime promo. So maybe this public affairs maven is actually a dab hand at PR. So who on earth wants to keep their business that quiet? And why? Let's talk about the substance of the book. So here are some of the things that are covered in the book, and I would encourage you to read it. And the other thing to say is she happens to be married to somebody at the Financial Times. So how she kept this quiet, hat tip. One of the things that people often wonder about Meta is how aggressive its acquisition strategy was. Now, she alleges, or it's alleged in the book, that competitors like WhatsApp and Insta were specifically acqui-hired or taken out of the market, specifically to freeze them out of the category space that brilliantly Meta saw. And that's something that a lot of people have thought about, and it may explain why so many people were pink-slipped recently, because essentially it didn't sound like they needed them for what they were doing. Allegedly, indeed. We all know, and he pioneered it probably, the share structure of Meta is something that gives Mr. Zuckerberg absolute control. And from what we've read, he really does, or did at least, live the break things and move fast motto. And that clearly works up to a point, quite a high valued point in this case, $1 trillion point. What maybe escapes that, or the consequence of this, and possibly why the pushback from government is happening, is like when that ethos affects democracy and influences free will. And there are all sorts of stories here about Myanmar and the Hong Kong riots, etc. They do say power corrupts.
Maybe slowly at first, I reckon, but then it can all come home to roost.
Yes, there's only so many private jet flights you can take before you start thinking you're God's gift. But what's fascinating about Sarah's journey is she's alleging that Zuck had to have it all explained to him, that Facebook's involvement in politics was significant. And I think we've got a little bit from the book. So from the book, this is what was explained to Zuckerberg allegedly on a private 10-hour private jet flight. Facebook embedded staff in Trump's campaign team in San Antonio for months, alongside Trump campaign programmers, ad copywriters, media buyers, network engineers, and data scientists. Boz, who led the ads team, described it as the single best digital ad campaign I've ever seen from an advertiser, period. I'm sure Boz is gainfully employed doing more of this single best digital ad campaigns ever, but it does completely prove, unlike what the testimony in Congress was, that Facebook and others very much do lead the agenda. I think this was something that was denied for years, and here it is in the book, out in the open.
Well, it doesn't necessarily prove it, does it, Paul? It's just one person's opinion who wrote the book.
The danger of a fractured vision is also really one of the major points of the book. And I think here there are some lessons for all of us, really, especially in the category building world. If you don't continually share what the company's about, and potentially and allegedly, maybe this is an example of it, your team will desert you or wait for the opportunity to potentially stab you in the back. Now, there is, to be fair, there's clearly a conflict of interest in the book, because clearly, the writer was, quote unquote, taking the devil's shilling and earning a pretty penny as one of the most successful executives in one of the most successful software companies the world's ever seen, doing great work. And depending on your view of that, Sarah was paid enough to keep stum for years, or, and that's obviously the narrative of the book, she finally did the right thing after struggling with her conscience and made this agonizing decision to go public.
Isn't there a phrase, there's none so righteous as the converted?
I mean, having read the book and given some of the personal traumas that she and her family went through, I think on balance, given what this lady has been through, we'll go with doing the right thing after an agonizing decision and coming to that conclusion. One of the things that's very clear from the book is that would back up the claim that this was a really agonizing decision made on moral grounds, is that the writer makes it clear that she was not working, and by choice, on collaboration on the China side of the business, which was clearly of great importance to the leadership. So there was some internal pushback on foreign collaboration, and that meant that the China project, if you will, I think they called it Project Aldrin, was pushed off to one side.
There's a lot of buzz around it. Huh?
Yes, certainly it rocketed.
No need to apologise about that.
Oh dear, wow. The internal decision specifically highlighted here was that the people that worked on the China operations of Facebook, which was significant, as we say, were allegedly collaborating very closely with the CCP, Chinese Communist Party, something that the writer / whistleblower, she tried her best, as she tells it, to avoid it professionally, until forced, reluctantly as she claims, to accept China as part of her role.
Sorry, this is somebody who had actively created Frankenstein's monster, and she's suddenly saying, oh, I don't like the way this is going.
But to be fair to her, I think she said it from the start. Eventually, she was forced to take that as part of her role, as she tells it. And from the book, here's how that is conveyed. The ugly fact is that many of the things Facebook has said are simply impossible when Congress and its own government have asked on content, data sharing, privacy, censorship, and encryption. And yet, its leadership are handing them even all to China on a silver platter. Now, that's clearly a strong allegation that is from the book. And who knows? Maybe the truth will come out in subsequent legal proceedings. But we do know that there is now a legal case, and the allegation there is that Facebook owes a large amount of expenses. So it sort of all comes down to that horrible Luca thing at the end, as it always does. So I guess we've got to ask ourselves, what do we learn from reading this book?
Ultimately, in all of these cases, how heavily should we, weigh these claims? I don't personally think it matters that she's connected to the FT's news editor. I am really, frankly, surprised that anybody's surprised about this.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I guess it's always different when you read it in black and white, and it's told in quite a compelling way, this version of the story.
Yeah, I'm also not really that convinced that buying competitors like Instagram and WhatsApp to freeze them out, it looks to me like they had a bit of a volte-face there. And WhatsApp, Instagram seem to be doing quite well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, of course, but I think the point was they were independent organizations before they were taken to be, as Meta built its category.
Oh, so this is about ensuring that they were on the inside of the tent pissing outside rather than being on the outside of the tent pissing inside. It was about control.
Control of the category, absolutely. And I guess the other thing is it's impossible to know. You can't prove, a negative that Instagram would have gone on and done anything of significance.
Absolutely. It could have been the perfect time for their shareholders to bail out. And I'm not entirely convinced here about why that is oh my God. I mean, that, acquisition to kill your competitors or acquisition to control your competitors is what companies do. It's it's a strategy that will be taught on any MBA you could go on anywhere in the world.
Absolutely.
So what?
The counter point would be, when Meta tried to go it alone and innovate its category into what we tend to forget is the reason for its name, the metaverse, that didn't work. So actually, maybe acquisitions are a genius move.
It's called buy or build. And they realized that part of their strategy wasn't going. So they adjusted the strategy, and they had built their company to a state where they could make that level of acquisition at the level of price that was being demanded for those relatively immature companies at the time. So I think you should look back at that strategy and go, pretty good strategy. That actually worked.
Yeah, you're sort of winning me over to your opinion here, because I think then Zuckerberg's absolute power, the dual class shares, which allows those strategies to be implemented, are aligned.
Well, it's autocracy, right? So we know the benefits of autocracy is you can make things happen very, very quickly, but things can also go badly wrong. That's sort of why democracy started to appear in the first place.
Well, before we go there, I think this is a decent holiday read. If you've got any concerns about your data privacy while you're busy posting holiday snaps and messages on Insta, on WhatsApp, or the good old OG Facebook, you might want to read Careless People, Power, Greed, Madness by Sarah Wynne Williams whilst you're on your summer holes.
Hey, Paul, have you noticed that everybody is complaining, it seems everywhere in the world, about how the cost of living has gone up and all the politicians are trying to get on it? Yeah, of course, that's true. It's particularly true if you're using a whole load of AI tokens.
Absolutely. Think of the great advantages of building up category momentum. One of the things you can do, because right now you're focused on momentum, is to just offer your services for free. I think
Pre-freemium.
yeah, freemium. We've talked a bunch of times on this pod about that. We like it. But all good things come to an end. Could we now be at the era of looking down the barrel of some shocking bills to come from our previously free AI products?
Right. So anybody who has not been vaguely sentient for the last decade at least should have figured out by now that when the product is free, as some wag put it some time ago, you are the product, right? You get Facebook for free because Facebook is harvesting all your data. And the value of that data is way more than what it cost them to provide you with the inverted commas service. This idea of the product being you used to allude very much to social media. I guess other things like free video games, if they're of any interest.
Oh, they're of interest. You see people on the tube in the morning. Yeah, they're of interest. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, back in our day, commercial TV and radio, right? So you got some nice tunes played for you, but you had to listen to some pretty dreadful ads in the middle, right? So, but now it seems very, very quickly, unsurprisingly, in a world that constantly speeds up, to apply to AI and tokens.
Yeah, they're becoming a critical issue for enterprise tech. Reading in the Financial Times, I love this headline. We created a monster, quote. Companies rein in AI usage as costs strain budgets.
When these are the same companies who are making a big deal about the cost savings of getting rid of people and replacing them with AI.
In some cases, they still might, because the folks that are doing the whinging here are Amazon, yeah, Walmart, yeah, Uber, coming. So these are the early adopters that have now internally introduced caps to their AI usage or discouraged wasteful activity. And it goes on to say, companies that race to put AI tools in the hands of their workers are starting to rein in their use as the cost of deploying the technology at scale begins to test corporate budgets. Amazon, Walmart, Cisco, Uber, Meta, among the early adopters that have introduced caps, discouraged wasteful use or pushed employees to cheaper models, I'm thinking Chinese, in a bid to keep AI spending under control.
Isn't there a fable of many, many years ago that never ever seems to lose its potency? Would the phrase Pandora's box apply here?
Oh, yeah, I think it very well might. I think it very well might. But I don't think many folks really predicted this or it happening as quickly. And clearly it's happening because, there's a lot of money going into data centers and NVIDIA chips. And did you see the news about memory maker SD Micron, as I call it, or Micron as it's called now?
Oh, God, the valuation.
Overtaken Meta, I think SpaceX. It just, for a humble memory maker, it's pretty amazing stuff.
Who'd have thought that if given apparently free access to the power of AI in a world where as a worker you are being told constantly that unless you get up to date with AI, you're unlikely to have a job, surely that's going to incentivize you to use the hell out of any AI that you're offered, because isn't that what you're supposed to be doing? You're supposed to be adding value by becoming this new hybrid human AI individual.
Yeah, and obviously the doomsters are out there saying that you don't use AI, you ain't got a job. But I can tell you from personal experience with our graphics team here that the amazing video generation capabilities that were once available with Nano Banana, etc. on Google, I'm having the conversation, well, I've run out of tokens. Like, this isn't even a conversation that would have happened a month ago or maybe 2 months ago. And now everyone's like, oh shit, there's a concept of a budget. I've got a thing called a token. I'm out of them.
That's going to be very interesting how that's going to appear on companies' balance sheets and reports to HMRC.
Oh, I'm really glad you mentioned that. That's a brilliant take. Yeah. So the issue here is if it's too expensive to use expensive tokens from OpenAI, Anthropic, and all the other guys desperately trying to IPO, where am I going to go? No, literally, where will I go if there's a mass exodus? I guess I'm going to go overseas.
Now, what country could possibly have a reason to supply the world with very cheap AI?
Who would possibly make the case for cheaper, free, open weight models? Oh, yeah, maybe China, possibly. And then what you've got is a viable alternative to Western democracy, which is messy at the moment. Expensive non-conformity and free speech. You've got an alternative to horribly expensive Western AI.
Yeah. But you've also possibly got an opportunity for Europe to get its act together.
Right. And that's, I think, the big opportunity here for European category creators is we have got a role, it would seem. This is the moment to strike because, big tech has never been less popular. And they got a problem. They're coming with the bills. We've gorged on the meal. And now they're coming with sir, can you just settle your tab? And that's never a comfortable moment, right? This is, as you rightly point out, a chance for Europe. I didn't see it before because I thought, and we've had Christine Cabrera on this pod before making the case that we just think we can regulate our way to market success. But with the pricing, we're not really talking about regulation. We're talking about commercial reasons. And so I'm beginning to wonder if European regulators, certainly European founders and policymakers, can in fact fundamentally alter the trajectory of this category and maybe change the aspirations for big tech.
I mean, too much too soon from big tech, perhaps, or, can Europe actually react quickly enough to start to get up into that LLM space rather than shaping its future by applying AI in very particular vertical markets and other applications.
Yeah. So the cracks are definitely appearing. The recent update to Apple's Siri model, which it has to be said has been appalling thus far, rubbish. But unfortunately for we Europeans, we cannot get the latest version. We will not be released in Europe, as reported in Politico. And I quote, Apple blames EU rules as it withholds new Siri AI from European devices. And another bit of human psyche is FOMO. Do Europeans, the users I'm talking about here, not necessarily the policymakers, do they like the fact they can't get the latest, greatest Apple product the same way as the rest of the world can? I think not.
Well, increasingly, they might not care. They've seen what comes with that.
At this juncture in time, then, with AI costs becoming an issue, with CISOs and CIOs rattling back their development teams from just using tokens willy-nilly, where are we in this fast evolving AI space and the categories around it?
Well, it might be time for companies to be a little bit more honest about how much AI is going to replace the people that they already employ and have invested in. They might also start being a little bit more honest about which people are going as a result of the implementation of certain sorts of AI and which people are going because they massively overhired in the first place.
Yes, and if it's a choice between go and build something that I will possibly get some value out of down the line to replace the people who are already giving me value, if the costs go up on the build side, might I be better off retraining the folks that I've got and not putting all of my eggs in the basket of a company who controls the bill?
It's sort of interesting. I mean, again, all the lessons of history may tell us that, of course, this is not going to be the horrible apocalypse for big tech that we thought. I mean, when tractors got introduced and they started to become a bit more expensive because demand outstripped supply, people didn't suddenly go, "Oh God, sorry horses, you can come back. We'll go back to doing that," because the genie was out of the bottle. So the commercial issue here is, which of the large LLM suppliers are going to adjust the pricings of their tokens so that people can use more. We're back to what we discussed in recent episodes here, which is like the Jevons paradox.
Well, but I think there's an alternative now, which is looming very, very bright, which is if you overprice on the tokens, there is an alternative, which is free, which is open weights, which is probably Chinese, and that presents new opportunities for the types of categories that we've talked about here before Europe might be well placed for. So built on something open source, not paying the tax to the man, if you want to think about it like that. And my question is will these categories emerge, and will they have a lot to do with this cost change? And I think they will. If you look at one of the things we look at in category formation and design is novel language. And we see a lot of that around this. We've already seen token maxing, which is the idea that you use as many tokens as you can. Obviously, that's probably not great if the price is going up. And even, and I like this one, tokenomics. So does the price I'm paying for tokens stack up from a business value point of view? More of that in a future episode, no doubt. But these pricing constraints are something that category builders, especially those in Europe, need to take seriously, because often constraints make for better products, right?
Yeah, and this is also, that issue that you have to deal with if your business is fundamentally reliant on somebody else's business, and that makes it very difficult to establish long-term categories, because so often your business is just a bit better than the business you're sitting on top of. So you need to have a bit of a break there, I think.
And if I just my opinion, if I might offer an opinion on that, I don't think it fully played out with the cloud, previous cloud innovation, because there were plenty of businesses built off the back of Microsoft, Google, Amazon, etc.'s cloud models that the big guys allowed to prosper as they should. Smart. Building an ecosystem is a smart thing to do with a category. But I'm just not sure in this instance if we can read across, because I fear a mass exodus to cheaper or free AI models, and potentially a misstep by our friends in the US hegemony on tech.
So you're saying that potentially US suppliers should have a good look at what they did right in allowing ecosystems to build around the likes of AWS, and think about that in terms of their LLMs, rather than immediately going to price gouging to maximize profit, because they are so ludicrously overvalued.
Well, they may have no option, Jonathan, financially, because of what they've pledged, in terms of investment. But I do think,
because they are so ludicrously overvalued,
right? And I think that the opportunity here is for smart Europeans to play off the two options that they've got and build categories that really just add business value and don't focus on token maxing and all of the current nonsense that's going on with the price hikes.
And let's not describe one of the elephants in the room at the moment. That US foreign policy and policy in general is having the effect of driving Europeans to other partnerships.
Exactly. So the lesson here is, be nice, America.
Be nice.
Thank you for listening. If you want to learn more about category design, head to becategorical.com. If you need help designing and dominating your category, then get in touch. Contact details are in the show notes.